Hi, and welcome to MacroTube. In today's art and design history lesson, we are going to talk about the Renaissance. Let's take a look at our first point. What is the Renaissance? The Renaissance is the time of expansion for religious interpretation, scientific discoveries, and the flourishing of the arts. The Renaissance was defined by humanism. Humans became the central aspect of art, culture, and science. Knowledge and personal responsibilities became the main values of the era. People were seeking for a greater understanding of the world and for oneself. Through its new values and perspectives, the Renaissance devalued the medieval era before it. People took inspiration from Greek and Roman traditions as reflected by Renaissance art. The Renaissance era brought many famous innovative thinkers and artists to us, who we often call by the title geniuses. Moving on with the second point, what makes it special? Renaissance art is known for its realistic scenery, linear perspective, and its strong light and shadows, also known as chiaroscuro. Artists began infusing Christian iconography with Greek and Roman symbols to represent their values. A great example for this is Botticelli's The Birth of Venus. Renaissance artists started to mix pigments with oils for more vibrant colors. They also started to paint on canvas and not on wood as they did in medieval times. Renaissance paintings usually had a pyramidal configuration of the figures, which created a sense of balance. Next, we'll take a closer look at the early Renaissance. The early Renaissance took place in the 15th century, where it developed in Florence, a rich commercial city, the city Dante's and Giotto's. There was a number of artists in Florence who wanted to create new arts. Their leading member was the architect Filippo Brunelleschi, who worked on the construction of the Florentine Dome. The Florentians wanted to crown the dome with a giant, powerful cupola. However, only Brunelleschi was able to connect the giant spaces between the roof's pillars. On the picture, you can see Brunelleschi's cupola for the Florentine dome. Masaccio's Holy Trinity on the right is the earliest painting that uses linear perspective. He brings emotions to paintings and figures to life, making them more realistic than medieval paintings. Donatello brings the idea of freestanding sculptures and creates the first freestanding nude since ancient times. On the left you can see his most famous work, his David sculpture. Botticelli is rather known for his mythical paintings such as The Birth of Venus. After the early Renaissance comes the High Renaissance. The High Renaissance took place in the 16th century and is the most famous era of the Italian arts and one of the biggest periods ever. The art movement that developed in Florence moved to Rome and Venice. The church was the most powerful institution, and art was mostly financed through the church, Venetian merchants, and the Medici family, which became the most powerful dynasty through banking and commissioned hundreds of artworks. All of them financed artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Titian. On the top, you can see Pope Adrian VI, and on the bottom, the Medici family. The High Renaissance was the time of geniuses. Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Michelangelo, and many more all came from the High Renaissance. It was also the time of great discoveries in science. People studied the mathematical laws of perspective and anatomy. The artist's horizon was expanding. Their status rose from simple craftsmen to independent masters of arts. Now to our last point, the Northern Renaissance. The Italian Renaissance began to spread to Northern Europe north of the Alps. The Northern Renaissance perfected the idea of oil paintings with unbelievably realistic details. Main figures of the Northern Renaissance are Jan van Eyck, Hieronymus Bosch, Bruegel, Hans Holbein, and Albrecht Dürer. On the top you can see Bruegel's painting The Tower of Babel, on the left Jan van Eyck's The Arnolfini Wedding, and on the right Hieronymus Bosch's central panel of the Garden of Earthly Delights. On the left is a self-portrait of Albrecht Dürer, and on the right a portrait of King Henry VIII by Hans Holbein.